videos for November 16th, November 17th. This is where we ended up on that first video. We did these two problems here. If you need to go back and watch those, that might be a good thing if you need help on those. I'm going to talk about one more problem. If you flip to the back of this page, at the bottom of it. I know, a little weird, but I think it'll be helpful. A lot of students got stuck here, so I do want to talk about this one problem. Make sure we see a strategy that is helpful to simplify these types of expressions. One thing is you could change things in the numerator and make secant 1 over cosine I personally not a fan of this because then you have a fraction over a fraction. Maybe that helps you to simplify, but I think then you have to get a common denominator, all those things. I would recommend doing this. Anytime we're adding or subtracting in the numerator, what we can do is divide each term in the numerator by our denominator. What I mean by that is we can take this first term, secant x, and divide it by the denominator here, secant x. We can take cosine x and divide it by secant x, which is completely okay. So you're deconstructing this fraction, which is fine. Because here, if I subtract these two fractions, what we have is a common denominator, secant x, so that would be our denominator. We subtract the numerators, we would end up back here. So this is all mathematically equivalent. We're doing, haven't done anything that's wrong mathematically to this point. And then what we can do is secant divided by secant. That's going to give us 1. And then we can use a strategy we talked about in the previous video for these same guide notes on the front side, is we can rewrite this division as multiplication and write that as cosine x times, I can either divide by secant or I can multiply by 1 over secant. And then we get cosine x, 1 over secant is cosine. I'll let you simplify from there, but if you multiply these two together and use a Pythagorean identity, what you should end up with is sine squared. The key thing here is this strategy. Deconstructing the fraction, writing it as this term divided by that term, by the denominator, this term divided by the denominator. Not always going to be helpful, but if we don't know where to start, excuse me, definitely a helpful strategy to help simplify, get to a solution. Here is sine squared. Again, if you have questions, please feel free to ask at any time. Also, we'll get more practice over the next couple of days, and we'll review after we come back from Thanksgiving break.